Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Bill. This video is the Star Wars recap for the Sunday games we've been playing. I do not run the Star Wars games, I'm a player in it. But without any further ado, let's get into recap number 8. And this was last week. We finished re-equipping our ships and remaking some hyperdrives. The ones that my Asgard made were a little bit weaker than the ones we originally had, which isn't a big deal because it still gives us hyperdrives. We don't have to try to use light speed to go from the wild space back into the Star Wars space. So even though it'll take us time to get back, we can still get back and forth. After getting all that established and stockpiling a bunch of just random debris to use for crafting and such, we decided to go exploring. I was still tinkering and making a few things. I wanted to take the physical shield, that personal physical shields that some of us had, or I think only 2 of us actually had, and duplicate that for the rest of the party. Even if I'm duplicating it at a slightly weaker result than what the originals are. So that way when we fight the Zerg in person, we'll have a better chance to fight them instead of being equipped for laser fire and having to deal with physical attacks. So that's what my Asgard was up to. And I also came up with an idea to make a space launch station for the planet nearby. The planet gets destroyed and the nanites pretty much restore it to how it was right before it was destroyed. So the resources there that we can mine, even if we would mine them all, if the planet gets destroyed, it would come back and we would have the resources again. So we're going to use that as our resource planet as well as training grounds. We can go down there and fight the Zerg and learn how to fight the Zerg, get a little bit more powerful, and just more or less use this as our base of operations. So we'll create a space base, and I'm kind of getting a little ahead of myself. Let's actually go back to what happened in the correct order, but that's part of something that is going on this game. So I duplicate some of that tech to give us some physical shields. The Wookiee pilot, I believe, and the Doug are flying in in one of the fighters. My Jedi, he has a few ranks in the piloting skill, so he's trying to learn how to fly the big ship and how to fly the fighters without taking any penalties for it being a foreign style craft. So he does that the entire time we've been building the hyperdrives, and we've been starting to build all this little stuff. So the Doug and the Wookiee are in the same craft. The Doug's like, I think the Doug was in the second seat, so he was in control of like weapons and stuff, and the Wookiee was the pilot, of course. So they decide they'll go investigate this big moon-sized like beast carcass that's floating in the space. I don't remember what the name of the creature was that our game master was using for it, but he actually had a name for that creature, so, which was very cool. But they fly around, they decide they're going to go up the butt and figure out if there's anything worth value in this thing. So they end up blowing away into the anus of the creature, and they see crystals and acid pustules everywhere, and the pustules are squirting acid all over the place, and one of them hits like just barely the tip of the wing, and the wing just disintegrates. So that they go grab a crystal and vacate as fast as they can. And they return that crystal to our staging area, we most of us decide to go investigate because I had access to the science vessel, which the Protoss character was piloting. My Asgard goes through and finds out all the local trade areas that are right here. And there's one in the mouth of that creature. So we decide to go there and land and gather some information, learn a few things. So while we're there, we had to pick up we needed to pick up some permits for some mining. The downside is if we did any mining inside this creature, which is what this facility was designed for, we owe 50% of the resources to the mining operation. So we'd only ever get to keep half of whatever we're retrieving. The party more or less goes to the cantina. We talk with a few locals, order a round of drinks. Then after grabbing the permits, most of us leave. And then one of the players, I don't remember if it was his Jedi or his Mandalorian, and his Jedi's a sand person, but one of them wanted to sell one of the hyperdrives we just made to the locals. So he's trying to figure out how to do that. Meanwhile, I've made it known that if he does sell one, I'm not making another one. So we'll be down a hyperdrive. Right now, my priority is to make a structure, because it's in the blueprints we were given, make a structure that will make the little mechs that we're piloting to build these hyperdrives and everything. So we need to be able to, because eventually the arm that's building everything on these mechs will burn out. So we need to be able to reproduce these mechs to be able to keep our production up. So that's what my focus is on. So now we're to the point where I had the idea of the space base. So eventually, after he talks with the locals, he joins back up with us. I don't think he sold his hyperdrive, as far as I remember, but he might go back and do it later. So I got the idea to build the space base, the orbital platform, and we're looking at the rules for, well, I'm remembering the physical layouts of StarCraft, and the humans had space platforms. For incorrect size comparison, you could think of it as a notebook, a rectangular flat platform, and a regular mini would be about the size of a building. So a regular 28 millimeter mini for D&D would be the size of a building for this. So we're going to take those platforms, we're going to arrange them in a cube, but we're not going to put the back face or the front face on the cube. Or we might just put the back face on and leave the front face open. And then we're going to put, you'll take one of the faces and then you're going to put asteroids and junk all along the back of that face that's facing outwards. And then the inside of the cube, we're going to have tethered together. And then in the center of that, just floating there, we're going to do a space dock for the ship so they don't have to land on the flat places. But there's no gravity being generated by the flat places, so you can go anywhere in this thing. And until that space dock is built, the landing on the flat places is the only thing we can do. And then after we get that built and then the protection around it visually, we're going to actually build the command center on one of those platforms. And that's the first thing we're doing. With the command center, we can reproduce these mechs that build these buildings and stuff. So we start finding these platforms in the debris. They're numerous. They're just not together. So we grab one or two of them, and then we see some Zerg in the distance swarming a piece of equipment. We described to us just swarming some debris. So they're out there messing around. We my Jedi is in one of the ships, one of the fighters, with the Dug, and all the big ships are being used to move this single platform into position. We begin using all the mechs to secure the platforms together as we get them in place. And then from there, as we're getting closer to the last piece of the platform, we get attacked by those Zerg because we had to get closer to them. The Dug activates the stealth of the ship, and we just go invisible to like everything but the best sensors. And the best sensors are on the science vessel. And I used our laser at this like dozen Zerg coming at us. I'm pretty sure I hit one, but I don't remember killing it. The science vessel launches out these clouds of radiation, and that takes out like 3/4 of the Zerg coming at us. I then use move object to grab them and push them back into the radiation. So they die slowly, and I made sure it was slowly because my mind was being affected by the overmind. So I was making sure to relay the death to that overmind. We don't know how we activated the stealth specifically, and we don't know how to keep it active because it was designed to be a stationary stealth the way he activated it. But the way it's designed to function is as it moves, if it's set up correctly, it could keep you stealth the whole time. But we then go check out what the Zerg were swarming. We take out that last Zerg that was there. I don't remember which of us did it, but it was pretty fast. And they're swarming a piece of our destroyed old ship that has a full bank of proton torpedoes. So we gather that and we bring it back to our base. I'm going to have to scan that into the data, break that down so we can reproduce that, because those weapons would be very useful in this heavily dense, rubbled space area, since they can avoid or not get destroyed by accidentally hitting some of the debris. Now that we got our platforms into place, the Asgard begins building the headquarters. And then my Jedi begins bringing pieces of asteroid to the platforms, and he starts to try to get them, for the most part right now, just mostly around it, and then we're trying to link tethered cables to it to hold it in place. Then we decide to go planet side to gather some resources. We scan the planet, we figure out where all the resource locations are, and then we just pick one that's the furthest away from the known areas of the Zerg to start with. And then we land, my Jedi begins harvesting the way he would harvest, which is giant move object, pull a huge section up, bring it over, set it down. But the mechs that we use to build the buildings, they have to break that down into something that's not going to shift or damage the ship when we take off. So I, more or less in about a day, I harvest everything that we need, and it takes them like up to 3 days to break it all down for us to transport. So after doing that, during one of the days, we get attacked by a giant crab coming out of the ocean that we were near, or the giant lake we were near. I don't remember which. Giant body of water that we were near. And I mean, this is a crab that was described pretty much about as big as a football stadium. The Doug begins moving it with move object, and the Wookiee Jedi tries to force lightning it. And we've come to the conclusion that the rules for force lightning are not good, so we need to go back and edit those for this game. Because it maxes out at like 3 dice. It never gets any better, and its area effects very close and very small. So we need to give him more versatility with it because that's his specialty. Otherwise, we need to allow him to rearrange his character and pick a different specialty. But they mess with the crab, and after pretty much ripping the crab apart, they begin cooking the crab, and we have crab for a couple of days. We go back up to space side, and we deliver all the materials to the Asgard, and he continues to build the HQ. We employ the other mechs to speed up the process. So we start burning through those resources a little bit faster, but in the process, we shrink in the 10 weeks it takes to build the headquarters down to like, I think it was 5. But I could be completely wrong on that. So I'll ask the game master later to know exactly how long it was going to take us. But that time overall was irrelevant other than the fact that we have to watch out for the Zerg in space. As a few days or a week goes by, I don't remember which, we detect a big influx of creatures on the opposite side of the planet. When we go investigate, we see these 2 or 3 huge, and I mean like titanically huge, creatures that are releasing Zerg to the surface of the planet. Those Zerg seem to be moving with purpose, where the Zerg on the planet are wild Zerg. They're not linked to the Overmind. That's where the game ended last week. So we're trying to get the headquarters built. We've kind of got a list of buildings we want to build for our base. And this will be our staging platform in this area of space where we can gather resources and things like that. And then we'll go back to the Star Wars section of space and mess around there. We've created our own group as far as organization, where the Violet Dawn is what we're going with. Think of the Japanese sunrise flag, except it's more purple. And then the rumors, because of how we act as players, is going to be we're really the Violent Dawn is the rumors. Especially with a third of our party being Sith by the end of the foreseeable future, because the Wookiees have a lot of dark side points. I have been acquiring a lot of dark side points. The Doug has been acquiring a lot of dark side points. But that said, the Jedi I was training, he has a lot of light points. The Sand Person Jedi, he has a lot of light points. So it'll be very entertaining to see how this game keeps progressing. I am having lots of fun, and I'm pretty sure most of us are enjoying it. We just need to help the player that's playing the Wookiee with his Force Lightning as his specialty, or the Rage that he picked. So we need to figure out either how to fix those or allow him to edit the character real good. Well, until we all game again this Sunday.